The Abandoned Facility. Chapter 1. Hunters of the Unknown. Seth and Jake had been inseparable since childhood. Growing up in a small town in Nevada, they spent their days exploring abandoned buildings, sneaking into derelict military sites, and collecting relics from the past. While other kids played video games or hung out at the mall, they were out in the desert, armed with flashlights, crowbars, and a shared love for the unknown. Over the years, their hobby evolved into an obsession. They scavenged discarded electronics, old radios, military helmets, and broken control panels from the remnants of long-forgotten installations. Most people in their town thought they were weird, but they didn't care. Then, one evening, they stumbled upon a rumor that would change everything. A drunken old man at a roadside bar told them about Site Echo, a secret military compound hidden deep in the desert. Unlike Area 51, which had become infamous and heavily guarded, Site Echo had been erased from official records decades ago. The government had abandoned it, leaving behind only whispers and unanswered questions. Some said it was a testing site for experimental aircraft. Others believed it was something far more sinister. The man's bloodshot eyes darkened as he muttered his final warning. If you find it, don't go inside. People who do, they never come back the same. Seth and Jake exchanged a glance. There was no doubt in their minds. They had to find Site Echo. Chapter 2. The Journey into the Unknown. The next morning, they loaded up Jake's old pickup truck with supplies, flashlights, cameras, Geiger counters, and a shotgun, just in case. Using an old military map they found online, they identified a likely location about 30 miles from town, far beyond any paved roads. By late afternoon, they reached the spot. The terrain was brutal, endless dunes of sand, cracked earth, and scattered boulders. Then they saw it. A massive chain-link fence, half collapsed, with a rusted restricted area sign hanging from one side. Beyond the fence, there was nothing but silence. They climbed through a hole in the fence and followed an overgrown dirt road until they reached a concrete entrance built into the side of a rocky hill. A faded U.S. government property. No trespassing sign was bolted to the wall. The steel doors were slightly ajar, as if someone or something had forced them open long ago. Jake smirked. Well, looks like we're invited. Seth swallowed hard. He had a bad feeling about this, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. They stepped inside. Chapter 3. A place left behind, or not. The air inside was stale, thick with dust and the faint smell of rusted metal. Their flashlights flickered along the walls, revealing peeling paint, broken monitors, and scattered documents written in cryptic military jargon. Looks like they left in a hurry, Seth murmured, picking up a clipboard with faded writing. Jake, always the more reckless of the two, pressed forward into a long corridor lined with doors. Some were open, revealing empty rooms filled with overturned chairs and shattered glass. Others were sealed tight, their electronic locks long dead. Then, they found something strange. At the end of the hallway, there was a security checkpoint with a hollowed-out guard station. Beyond it, the facility descended into darkness. But on the wall, there was something fresh, a deep, bloody handprint smeared across the metal. Jake's breath hitched. No way, this is from the 70s! A metallic clatter echoed from down the hall. They spun around, flashlights shaking. Something was in there with them. Chapter 4. The Descent into Madness. Trying to stay quiet, they pressed forward, following the dim emergency lights deeper underground. The layout of the base was bizarre hallways leading nowhere, doors that seemed to shift when they looked away. The walls were covered in strange symbols, not military markings, but something older, something wrong. Then they found the chamber. It was an enormous circular room, lined with glass observation windows. In the center stood a massive containment pod iron coffin covered in warning labels. The words, non-human entity, do not engage, were stenciled in bold red letters. And the glass was broken. Jake took a shaky step forward. Dude, what the hell did they keep here? Seth noticed something worse. The floor was covered in fresh footprints, not human ones. They were long, clawed, and wet, as if something had just crawled out. Then they heard it. A low, guttural clicking noise. It was behind them. Chapter 5. Nowhere to run. The lights flickered violently. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls. The clicking grew louder, turning into a distorted, inhuman whispering. Seth grabbed Jake's arm. Run! They bolted back toward the exit, their flashlights darting wildly. Behind them, something massive shifted in the darkness. A metallic screech tore through the air, followed by a deep, unearthly growl. As they sprinted through the halls, the layout had changed. Corridors that had been open were now dead ends. The doors they had passed through were now sealed. The base was shifting around them. Jake gasped, "It's trapping us!" Then, suddenly, they were back at the entrance. Only, the door was gone. In its place was solid concrete. No way out. Chapter 6. The Last Transmission. Their radios crackled to life. A voice, garbled and inhuman, whispered through the static. "You were never supposed to see this." Then, everything went black. Hours later, a search team found Jake's truck abandoned in the desert. There was no trace of them. The last footage from their cameras was corrupted, except for a single frame of blurry image of a tall, shadowy figure with glowing eyes standing behind them. No one ever found Site Echo again. And no one ever heard from Seth and Jake ever again.